Just rage and greed to live with conscience. It's to live on your knees. The sea is the fingers of price that you pay. The blackness is spreading inside of the day. We're heading to hell in a blaze. Is there no we're taking intentions and dragging them down. Loyally, royally, pay for the crown. Willfully, skillfully down. Is there no hope? Oh, oh, for all our woes. Oh, oh, will we outgrow her endless of gods and gold. Is there no hope? Oh, oh, for all our woes. Oh, oh, will we outgrow her endless gods and gold. Gods and
Hi, friends. You are watching Unwritten Rules of the Road. I am Tosh. We are joined today by the incredible Daniel Graves, the incredible maker behind Aesthetic Perfection. Um, Daniel, thank you so much for joining us today. Really appreciate it.
My absolute pleasure to be here. Thank you for moving this up and doing it a little bit earlier than you usually do to account for the time difference. So, yeah, like I said, always honored to be invited to talk to people. Never feel like I'm important enough to be interviewed, but I'm humbled. Thank you so much.
It's funny you say that because you're an incredibly successful artist with a really huge body of work. And yet one of the things I really appreciate you about you is that you take the time to share your wisdom, to share your experience, to inspire other artists. Being an independent artist yourself, carrying the torch and showing the rest of us like, hey guys, this is possible.
Yeah, I mean, when I was growing up, I was basically just kind of I mean, I think we're all sort of stumbling our way through life, right? But I never really had a mentor in life, let alone in music. And so after having a couple of quite negative experiences with artists that I had looked up to growing up, I kind of decided that if I ever had the opportunity to be in their position, like to be able to give advice or help or even just encouragement to other up and coming musicians, that I would absolutely take it. So some of my biggest like musical inspirations were actually my biggest inspirations of like who not to be as a person.
That's a fun and not so fun irony. Yeah.
You take the good with the bad, right? Like, and
Yeah.
I think now when you're a 16-year-old 15, 16-year-old kid. Like you don't even know what it's like to be in the shoes of these people that you're looking up to. So, I think I'm probably a little bit more forgiving of, people being short or impatient with me or whatever, because obviously we all have bad days, but it really just goes to show you how much like these little moments mean to your audience when they get the chance to meet you and talk to you, or other musicians. um, and so even if you're having a bad day and this isn't who you are, like in you know the majority of the time, right? These moments where you're like less than gracious really can make an impact on people, because I remember these experiences vividly, and they're like 20 something years ago. uh, so I just, I always try to imagine what it was like to be that 16-year-old whenever I'm engaging with you know fans, other musicians, whatever.
I imagine your 16-year-old self would probably really love that you have, really dedicated yourself to that.
I think my 16-year-old self would be like, "What? You're not a multimillionaire yet? Like, what are you doing? You totally screwed it up, man."
And yet, I mean, look at the tour you just did. I mean, my gosh, that's incredible. Like, talk about like a pinnacle moment, right?
Yeah, I mean, this tour that we just did with Till Lindemann, the singer of Rammstein. Um, we've toured with him before.
Hmm.
That this was actually the fourth tour that we've done with him. So, you know, I think I thought I knew what to expect, but as Till's project has grown, they're now playing in bigger locations, and the fandom gets more and more rabid for him, right? I think the first couple of times maybe people were unsure of what to expect. You would even have people asking like, "Oh, is Till going to play Rammstein songs?" And now he's sort of like firmly established himself as a solo artist, right? And so I think as the intensity of the fandom for him ramps up and the venues get bigger, like, that starts to spill over onto, everybody who's kind of like in that orbit. And, another thing that I didn't really sort of anticipate going into this tour was that, now a lot of the diehard Lindemann fans have been sort of introduced to aesthetic perfection so many times that now to them we're not just kind of strangers. And so this tour was really honestly the most incredible tour that I've ever done in my 26 years of aesthetic perfection. It was just absolutely mind-blowing. I mean, the feedback from the audience, the experience of, every night I would go out into the crowd after show and like hand out flyers to promote my new single, whatever, put a little QR code on it, like, "Hey, listen to my new single, listen to my new single." And a lot of times on these last tours, people would just like look at you like, "Who the hell are you?" and walk away, or they look at the flyer and they throw it away. But we were getting sometimes crowds of people around us, where sometimes you were kind of becoming concerned for your safety, and that was for me definitely like a very, very, very new experience. And just kind of like the enthusiasm for aesthetic perfection on that tour was palpable, and I honestly never in a million years would have expected that, especially with it being the fourth tour that we'd ever done with Till. But I'm eternally grateful for it. Most bands don't get asked back four times, right? And
Yeah.
so I think that's just like a testament to I think the professionalism of myself and my crew. Like we really pride ourselves on being easy to work with, easygoing, like knowing your place, very important. Um, and just basically being uh as as perfect of an opening band as one could be, right? So it's like trying to tick off every checkbox, right? Like what can I do to be a great support band? So I don't know. It was worked out great. We're very, very grateful.
Well, if you don't mind sharing, like what are the tick boxes for being that opening bands?
You know, I think that for a lot of artists, it is difficult to know your place, right? Because let's say, I think a lot of artists do not have a healthy relationship with their egos, right? Like
Yeah.
we don't really get into this business because we have a super healthy relationship with our egos, and that's okay. But I think that you need to be self-aware enough to know like when uh you should be allowing your ego to sort of take center stage and when you need to sort of reel it back in. And I'm 42 years old. 25-year-old Daniel did not have a handle on his ego. I feel like 42-year-old Daniel has a much better handle on it. Um, but that means, that there's a lot of things that come with that. So I think a lot of opening bands, they fight for as much time on stage as possible. But as an opening band, you need to understand that you are not there, or the people are not there for you. They did not buy that ticket to see you. Like, of course, maybe there were Aesthetic Perfection fans in the audience who bought tickets to see us. Fine. But, in an arena of 10,000 people, how many of them were there for me? Because I know I can't fill an arena of 10,000 people. So, um, I actually try to play not as little as possible, but I think about how can I structure my show in a way where I'm making the maximum impact in the shortest amount of time possible. So it's essentially like get in, kick ass, and F off. And I think that a lot of opening bands don't understand this. Like I've toured with bands that are like, I want to play 70 minutes. And it's like, you're the first band of 3 in the night. You like you're gonna wear the audience out before the headliner ever gets up there. So I do feel when I'm a support band that it's my duty to um, put my best foot forward and show the audience who Aesthetic Perfection is, but also kind of realize that the limelight is not there for you. So, hype up the crowd for the headliner, make the crowd feel like you are there to make this night in general great for everybody. Um, and then, beyond that, it's like stay out of people's way. When the crew of the headliner is coming towards you and the hallway is down a narrow hallway, uh you should get out, make yourself flat, get as flat as you possibly can and get out of the people's way because, you know, their jobs are, at least in terms of the functionality of the production that is happening, their job is more important, right?
Hmm.
And I've seen people, in opening bands, they'll try to play chicken with the people in the other crew and bands, and it's a pure ego thing. And I've seen them like shoulder check people and just like, this you're trying to tell the headlining band that their crew is taking up too much space. And it's like, they're making the space for you. Stay out of their way.
Yeah.
And be on time. Always be
Mm.
on time. Like especially, working with Germans, Germans are they have a reputation for being the most punctual people because they are the most punctual people. And I'll never forget the first tour that I did with their tour manager. Very straight-laced German guy, always very polite, but very, very strict with timings. And we were always there, 2 or 3 minutes early, ready to put our stuff on stage. And when the tour was over, um, he just walked up to me and he was like, Daniel, thank you so, so much for being on time. and, and I was like, I just, for me, uh, being so kind of enmeshed in German culture and understanding, like the Germans have a saying that is basically loosely translated means uh, n- not being scolded is praise enough. So don't ever expect praise from Germans. Just if they're not scolding you, then you should feel like you're in a good place. Now, the fact that you're getting praise and somebody says, "Thank you, wonderful, you've been on time," you're just like, "My goodness, this is, this is the best compliment I could have ever hoped for." So, it's things like that, and I think um, they're not difficult things, but I think it's stuff that a lot of people just kind of, I don't know, they have blinders on, and I think it's really, really important to just kind of be self-aware, read the room, know your place, that type of stuff.
Well, I was curious actually, because it's like you're shifting gears now as you're getting ready for the Suckers for Punishment tour, which I'm really excited about. I love that you're launching here in LA, and I'm so excited to see y'all. But I was curious, like now that you're actually going to be headlining, do you feel like you're having a different approach in terms of mindset and how you're getting ready for this tour?
I mean, absolutely. Like, you know, as we were talking about before we went live, like playing live is not something that comes supernatural to me. Um, there are a lot of artists who um, say that the stage is the only place that they feel free in the world, right? But I am a person who feels like the stage is just a cage. It is just like it is a 1,000-ton weight on my chest, and it is for me really like trying to walk and chew gum at the same time, but like times a million. Because when I'm on stage, I'm not thinking, I'm not like just letting loose, saying, okay, let's just like kind of go with the flow. Like I do get in the zone, but I find myself, it's this constant dialogue where I'm like, okay, um, this is a part where you have, I don't know, 15 seconds to jump around and move, but you have to stop 5 seconds before you have to sing because you need to regain your breath. And this note or this scream requires like, a lot of um, breath support and blah, blah, blah. So it's like I'm constantly doing this mental math, like trying to figure out how I can perform and how I can sing and trying to think about when to be entertaining. I don't know. It's just for me, it's this big mental math equation that when I get off the stage after, 70 minutes, I just feel completely drained of all of my mental and physical energy. Um, but I think the way that I'm able to sort of conquer my fear and come to grips with this, I would say, monumental mental load is by practicing incessantly and also thinking about the show and how I want to present it. Because as I was just saying, like as an opening band, you have different goals. Uh, and as a headline band, you need to think about how to, especially a band who's been doing this as long as I have, right? It's like I've got a discography that spans 26 years now. Um, you know, how do I make the new fans who discovered me through Lindemann happy while also making the people who've been, ride or dying it with me since 2005, like since the first album, or even earlier, people in LA who got like the demos that I was sending out back in the day, like when I had my GeoCities website, right? So, um, it definitely is a different approach and a different philosophy, and I think that a lot of headline bands will treat it almost like as their opportunity to just kind of um, be the be the contrarian artist, the people like Billy Corgan who will just say like, I'm not going to play any hits. I'm just going to play the songs that I want to play. And it's like, I'm a massive Smashing Pumpkins fan. Like and I'm actually a big Billy Corgan fan. Loved all of his solo work back in the early 2000s. One of the most underrated albums of all time. But anyway, um, it doesn't compute for me when somebody says that, because it's like I feel like I'm an artist in the studio and I'm an entertainer when I'm on stage. And so when I'm going out, like I want to make sure that people get their money's worth. And so, yeah, sometimes you can say like, oh, I'm gonna play a couple of songs for me, whatever, because I like them and I want to play them. Um, but really, like I feel that it's my job to really just tick all the boxes, give the people what they want because it's not about me, it's about them. So it is definitely a slightly different headspace, but it's still um I guess maybe about putting your ego to the side when you're thinking about how to prepare for it. But when you're actually in the midst of it, that's when you can, as a headliner, you can let your ego have a little more free reign, right?
Well, when you were talking about, well, the mental gymnastics that you go through, do you find that maybe somewhere, like maybe mid-tour, things just start automatically locking in place where it does allow you the space to let go more?
Yes. Um, I think probably it's ironically, it's always around like the 3/4 mark. That's when things get so locked in, and I think that um, it is almost a sport in that you are, at least for me, with the physicality of singing, right? It's like this whole body uh, endeavor, and like they say you have to sing a song 10 to 20 times before your body actually sort of breathes efficiently for singing the song. And I feel like, as much as I practice, the second you get on stage, it's like everything changes, right? Like you've got the adrenaline and, you think that you've practiced how to jump around in your studio or at rehearsal or whatever. But it's just a completely different monster. So, the first couple of days or maybe even weeks, that's when you're really kind of, I feel like walking the tightrope. But then, you know, 3/4, 2/3, 3/4 of the way in, that's when you start feeling like, okay, now I know what I'm doing. Like I know every beat that I have to hit. Um, and then it's over, and then you just sort of reset your body because you know uh it's like after 2 weeks your body starts forgetting muscle memory, and the all the endurance stuff that you built up just starts to go down the toilet. It's yeah. Oh well.
Well, I think it's awesome that you have the ability to do both melodic and aggressive vocals. I know that aggressive vocals especially take so much breath support. And so kind of a two-part question, but I was wondering like how do you like prepare for that before going on the road? And also like how do you maintain your vocal health while on the road? Because I know that it takes a lot to be able to sing every night. So just wondering if
Yeah.
you had particular warm-ups that you like to play with.
I think it's not even so much about warm-ups. I mean, obviously like warm-ups are important. um you know if you're a if you're a soccer player, you're not going to go out onto the field without stretching beforehand, right? But I think really the most important things that I think a lot of people um, overlook is lifestyle. Especially at my age, right? Like when you're 20 years old, you can afford to drink and smoke, and you can you know, maybe push yourself a little bit too hard on stage, and then, you get off stage and you're like, oh, that feels a little, it doesn't feel right. But then you wake up the next day and you're like, I'm good to go. And then have your beer and cigarette for breakfast, and you're okay. But when you're 42, it's like it ain't like that. Uh, and sometimes when I'm experimenting with things like, trying to learn new techniques or whatever, you do something wrong, and then you're like, oh man, I'm not going to be able to sing for like a day or two. So those things happen. So I think that's why it's so important to really like lock in the songs so you know how to sing them, so you don't um I think of it almost like play like bowling. Like you don't want to get a gutter ball. Like you just always want to sort of stay within your lane, and obviously like the more like the higher up in your register you go, or like with the screaming stuff, it's like the lane narrows, and so you just are constantly like risking hitting a gutter ball, and if you do that, you know you might be sidelined for a while. So I take that very, very seriously. I try to make sure that all of the songs are basically muscle memory. And then on top of that, it's like you need 8 hours of sleep a night. There's just no negotiations with that. It's like I'm a guy who loves to drink. When I'm on tour, I try to drink as little as possible, because it's just you get older, you get acid reflux and things like that, and it's terrible for your vocal folds. So, you know, try to be uh, smart with alcohol consumption and food. And so, like, I when I'm on tour, I tend to eat like the most boring foods possible. Like, I never really like risk anything like spicy food, stuff like that. Don't do it. Um, and then also, I before I go on stage, I'll use a nebulizer. Before I go to bed, steam, which just kind of like, whether or not it actually works, who knows? But it certainly feels nice, and it gives you some kind of at least like mental feeling that you've done something, and obviously like the mental side is half the battle anyway. So if you think that you're doing something good for yourself and it feels good, then you should do it. And then, for emergency situations, I have a big package of steroids that I bought in Mexico. And
Hmm.
when you feel like your voice is getting tired, sometimes at the end of the tour, it's like, well, gotta start taking steroids. But I don't recommend doing that to anybody. Like, but it's it's something a lot of singers do.
Yeah, I mean, gosh, it's like if you think about it, especially for extended periods of time, and you're midway through the tour and you're like, I still have this many weeks left to go. And I'm sure your fans very much appreciate the fact that you continue to show up every day, and to give everything that you can, to each show. So yeah, I think what you do to get through is what you have to do.
Yeah. I mean, and like I look at it this way is that um this this whole thing, like, the touring and playing live, like, if since I hate it as much as I do, I might as well be as good at it as I possibly can, so that the people get something out of it. And a lot of people will say things like, how can you hate playing live, like, the roar of the crowd and whatever and blah blah blah. It's like the roar of the crowd, what that gives me is the validation of knowing that like it's worth it, right? So I'm not like there going, oh my God, I'm so great, I'm so fantastic. I'm like, holy shit, I pulled it off again. Like, somehow I pulled a rabbit out of a hat again. And every night it feels that way sometimes. Like, it's almost every night feels like I pulled a rabbit out of a hat. I'm like, oh my God, I did this. Uh, because I always feel like there's so much, so much of it is an uphill battle, not just with with my own personal issues, but it's like, just touring's hard.
Hmm.
It's just
Yeah.
hard. It's tiring, and the logistics, and there's always a problem to solve. And I have to be the boss, and as well as being like the performer. And I never wanted to be a performer, and I never wanted to be a boss, but here I am. It's just like, but you're like, okay, I'm here. I got to do a good job. If
Yeah.
I don't do a good job, then this is just pointless on every level, right? I can just give up now if I'm not going to do a good job.
I wanted to take a moment to thank our wonderful friends in the chat. Thank you all so much for joining us. I wanted to share a question from Geistix KR4NK. I'm sorry if I'm saying that incorrectly, but they were saying artist in the studio and entertainer on the stage. Aren't you both of it on the stage?
Um, I don't know. I never really thought of it that way because, um, I think of myself as a musician when I'm in the studio creating. Like for me, that's like the artistic side of it. And I know, and I'm not even, I'm not trying to make like some silly claim that, performing isn't an art, or that, you know, people who just play live are somehow like less musicians or whatever. Like this, it's not the intention here. It's only how I internalize these things, right? This is all completely subjective viewpoint. But like for me, the creative aspect is the artistic side of my brain, and the performing aspect is much more of a it's an extension of it, but it's still a logic based endeavor. And um, especially with the kind of music that I play, it's electronic. We're working with a lot of pre-recorded tracks. The shows they don't really change much from night to night. Um, so I've always really viewed what I do as more akin to a stage play than live music, right? Because I'm not up there playing a guitar. I'm not like Fish or Dave Matthews Band where we're just gonna like jam for 20 minutes and just like, see what happens and stuff like that. And you know, I'm nobody will believe this, but I'm actually a massive fan of Dave Matthews Band, like one of my favorite bands of all time. So I love that stuff. I think it's great. But it's not what I do. And so I view my performance as like a stage performance. It's a well-rehearsed show, which does not really change much from night to night.
Mm. It's almost the way you describe it, it feels like there's a theater behind it. Like
Yeah,
the,
that's what I mean. It's like a
yeah.
like a
Mm-hmm.
broad like an off-Broadway show, right? Like
Yeah.
that's like a
Yeah.
musical
Yeah.
almost.
Yeah, no, I can really see that. I feel like, especially if you're really thinking of the visual element, the energy, the performance, all of it, and it's not just like executing your parts, there's a lot of moving parts for
Yeah,
sure.
but it's like a lot of nights, like I feel like, I have certain things that I say, to introduce different songs, like kind of bits, and I've got cues, and you know, I really do think of it like these are the beats that I want to hit during the show because I've planned it this way. Like I want the show to kind of go it, take people through this kind of ride, and I'm sort of the conductor there.
Yeah, yeah. Do you ever have sets where you need to adjust something on the fly? Like you might have to adjust a song, like choice or different ways of doing it.
We don't really change songs on the fly just because of the nature of like, all the technical stuff. Um, we, sometimes we have the ability to skip a song or something like that, but it's not really like we can just add something in on the fly. Um, but I can tell you when things do go off the rails, so to speak. Um, Sometimes I I get this deer in headlights situation where I'm like, what do I do? But then somehow this kind of survival instinct takes over, and I'm just able to vamp my way through it. Like on the last show of the tour, we did a headline show in Prague after we did the last show with Till Lindemann, and during the encore, uh, the power to the stage just died,
Mm.
and I'm just sitting there in a room full of 300 people, and there's literal like white lights on me, 300 people staring up at me like, what are you gonna do? And I'm like, I don't have any power here, so I don't know what to do. And then, somehow we kind of we were able to still entertain the crowd and talk with them and have fun. And what's ironic is that for this last tour, I got a megaphone to kind of do this like telephone effect that's in We Bring the Beat. So we had a megaphone that was already on stage, so I was able to like talk to the crowd through the megaphone while they were putting trying to figure out how to get the power back up. But these moments you really do I do when these things happen. I'm like, oh my God, and my stomach sinks, and I'm like, you feel like, am I going to die up here? Is this the end? And of course it's not, right? Uh, but you definitely, those things do go through your mind. But it, made me feel really good. My drummer Mike, who tours with me in Europe, came up to me afterwards. He was like, he's one of those guys who loves being on stage, and he was like, "Dude, that was so great! Like, man, you just totally winged that, and it was so fun." And it was like 10 minutes. It was 10 minutes until they got the power back up. So in my mind, this was the long, like one of the longest 10-minute periods of my entire life. But then, my drummer's like, "Yeah, dude, that was fun. That was great. Yeah, yeah, whatever." You're like, I'm just glad I made it out of that.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, the way you describe it too, I'm like, I imagine 10 minutes would feel like an eternity because even
Dude,
30
it was,
seconds can feel a lot.
dude, it was really the longest 10 minutes of my life.
Oh my gosh. I think it's really brilliant though that it's like I think for me personally what I love about a live show sometimes is to see the humanness and the
Mm,
presence of the artist. Like you really see the artist, I think, in these moments.
yeah.
So, yeah.
I mean, do you like playing live? Are you the person who likes being on stage?
Well, I also, like you, have like a lot of I starting to like retranslate it as energy and excitement before I go
Hmm.
on stage. That pit in your stomach,
Sure.
that can be translated as nervousness, but I like to look at it as sort of like the bubbling energy.
Right.
Yes, yes. And also, I mean, for me personally, just I grew up being very bullied, so people looking at me is something that I find terrifying.
Right.
But the instant the music starts, I feel like I'm inside of it. And
Hmm.
so I really feed off of the energy of my bandmates. So
Okay.
that's something that's helped me a lot, is just feeding off of the actual vibrations and the music and the people,
Yeah,
you
yeah,
know.
absolutely.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, and then and I think it's the people themselves. Like when you look into someone's eyes that's there to connect with you, I think that's really special.
Yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
it's it's either it it's either that validating feeling that I was discussing earlier, where you're like, okay, this is why I'm here. This is why I do this. But then there's also the times when you look and somebody's just making that face, like they hate you, and it's those happen obviously much more often when you're opening for another band, right? As opposed to when it's your audience. If it's your audience, they shouldn't be making the stank face, but like, they're as as amazing as all those Till Lindemann shows were, there were definitely some people in the front row who were just doing this for like your 40 minutes. You're just like,
Oh no.
and then you're like, how you doing, Amsterdam? And they're just like you're like, I can see you, like you're not that far away from me. I could like literally looking right in your eyes. They're just like,
I know that
whatever.
face.
Yeah. Yeah. So
Yeah.
it's a blessing and a curse, the being able to look them in the eyes for sure.
This is true. This is true. Yes. Well, then, I've chatted with other people, other artists who have said, but the people that you are there to see you, you're playing for them. So I think that's a saving grace when you go past
Yeah,
those. Yeah.
for sure. I
Yes.
think, but I'll also give you another flip side or another way to look at it. Sometimes for me, it's harder to be a headliner because I feel like there's so much more pressure, right?
Mm,
Like these people bought a ticket to see you, and you have to deliver, right? Like you
yeah.
can't let them down. You owe them this. When I'm a support band, there's almost there's like an antagonistic side of it where you're just kind of like, I dare you to hate me. And I've also kind of like, at least with some of these Lindemann shows, because like I said, basically like 99% of them were fantastic, but there are sometimes pockets of the audience where you can tell they're not vibing, or you do have a night where you're like, this crowd isn't into me at all, and then you just have to take on this sort of like this this perspective of like, look, I'm here, this is my stage now, and I'm going to show you who I am, whether you like it or not. And so taking this kind of like cheeky antagonistic, like uh uh no, like I don't know if you can swear on this, so I'm gonna like I don't
Have at it.
okay. Well, I don't know. I didn't want to get you demonetized or anything, but
No,
you can
no.
definitely have this you can definitely have this like fuck you attitude
Hmm.
where it's just like I don't care if you like me because if you're gonna we're gonna both walk away from this and not remember each other. So you just get to have this antagonistic thing, which can be fun.
Absolutely. And I don't know, I mean, as you were sharing that, I was reminded, you know, it's something that I really admire about you is that you're very courageous in your work and how you share, and it's very I mean, you might feel fear about it, but it comes across as fearless to even be able to put it out there, you know.
I I, I guess, but I don't know any other way,
Yeah.
right? So I guess I feel, I mean, it's a compliment when if people tell you that you're courageous and whatever, and I could easily be like, oh well, yeah, I know, it's just but I'm not I've never felt like I had any other option.
Yeah.
Um, and I think it's because, I grew up um never feeling like I had a right to exist, which is probably a very dark thing to say, but
Hmm.
I never got like this sort of validation um, growing up, not from peers, not really from family. It was just kind of like I had to just do what I needed to do to survive, and I did what I thought was right, and I didn't even know if it was wrong because there was nobody really telling me it was right or wrong. It was just kind of like I'm just making my way through.
Yeah.
And so I just kind of developed this unwavering focus on doing the things that I like to do and not being really able to entertain any other idea or any other possibilities, which I actually think is kind of limiting as a person, right? Like you should be able to think outside of your narrow perspective, but I think it's just sort of like a symptom of the way that I grew up, and so I don't know. It doesn't feel courageous to me. It just feels like how I'm wired.
Yeah.
And maybe if I could
Yeah.
see it, maybe I would do it differently, right?
Yeah. No, but I feel like that something that might feel like is embedded in who you are is something that I feel like when um, other people observe it, they're like, oh, that actually feels like someone can step forward and do something like that. And maybe I can too.
Yeah.
I think it's a little contagious in a good way, you know?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I was actually discussing this with my wife the other day because I guess in my little aesthetic perfection world, I'm in a leadership position, something I never really wanted and don't particularly enjoy, like being a boss and doing the hiring and the firing and all. It's like I don't like that.
Yeah.
Um, and you know, my wife in her work, she's the same way. Like she has a leadership position, but she doesn't really like it. Um, but we were talking about the fact that I think it's the people who do these things, they take these roles, or they're able to be better at them than people who want them because it's like you you just do what you think is right and you have no other um ulterior motives, right? It's like
Yeah.
you're not a leader because you want power. You're a leader because there's nobody else to do the thing, and all you want is the thing to be done and to be done right. And I think when people see that, they see somebody doing something like taking action and it working. Like I understand that is something that is engaging, right? Like and I see it in myself when I look at other people who I view as great leaders, and then I feel envious. I'm like, oh man, I wish I could be that kind of leader. So like I know that that's part of the human psychology there.
Yeah, I know. It's I think it's interesting because uh, from what I've observed with your work and your evolution, and I haven't been around from the very beginning of the aesthetic perfection journey, but I think you are definitely a creature of evolution. So I imagine like you're always striving to grow and evolve, you know, as a creative, you know, as an artist. So I imagine that's part of what drives you, you know.
Yeah, I mean, I I uh I grew up with, you know, bands like Marilyn Manson and Nine Inch Nails and you know, obviously, like, by extension, discovering artists like Bowie and my mom was listening to top 40 radio all the time when I was a kid, so like Madonna, and just like watching these artists continually reinvent themselves really just kind of tickled a nerve in my brain. Like, I was always drawn to artists like that, and you know, it was Queen, probably one of my favorite bands of all time. Um, I think it's partly uh, the ADHD side of my brain, which just constantly needs some new form of stimulation or new challenge to face, right? But like, whenever an artist felt like they were just kind of resting on their laurels, and sort of doing just the bare minimum, or like, oh, hey, this formula works, and then they just keep repeating it over and over again, I just immediately lose interest.
Yeah,
Um, and I just like think about when Mechanical Animals came out, you know, Marilyn Manson 1997, I think. Um, you know, I'm like this 16-year-old, 17-year-old mall goth kid. You know, I thought that I wanted Antichrist Superstar 2.0. Like, I wanted just this kind of like grinding industrial metal thing, whatever. And then he put out Mechanical Animals, hated it, absolutely despised it. Um, but I respected the change. And now,
mm,
actually going back, you know, all these years later, I think that it's the best album. So I think you artistically need to take those risks, even if you risk alienating your audience, because maybe um, you're saying something that they're not going to be able to understand for a decade. You know,
yeah,
like, maybe it's not the right time for this thing that you've made right now, but that's okay. Like, this is where you're at artistically. You need to do that and put it out into the world, right? And I think about how, was it Sound of Silence? Wasn't didn't get popular until 3 years after it was released. Something. It's just, we can't control these things. Like, we don't know what the zeitgeist is going to be when we're creating something. We don't know where the headspace of our audience is going to be when we're creating. You just have to be as true to your artistic intuition as possible, and you know, uh, all repercussions be damned. Because
yeah,
you know, we got into, or at least I got into, this kind of music because it was different and because it was dangerous and because it took risks. um or yeah, a band like My Life with the Thrill Kill Cult, right? Like, every record totally different, and you just you 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 have to just understand that you're doing this for you, and if the audience comes along with you, great. If they don't, also great.
yeah,
Because at the end of the day, it's like, you're doing this because you want to take risks, and if you're not going to take any risks, then you're not going to reap the rewards of those risks.
do you ever find that you write ahead of yourself? Like a few years later, you're like, oh, it makes sense now. Like
Oh, I
the
don't
song
understand
actually
any
sinks
of my
in.
music.
It's
I at least when I'm writing it, right? Like,
hmm
it
yeah,
really is with you know, hindsight, that I'm able to kind of parse what was really going on in my head. Um,
yeah,
because I don't really write lyrics to express a fully formed narrative. Um, I I just have a sort of vague feeling in my I don't know, like in my gut, or, I have vague images in my brain, and I try to express them with words. And very often, I write lyrics by just singing stream of conscious. So I'll just hit record in my DAW and just sing nonsense, and sometimes words will slip out, and then you're like, ooh. And I've always described it as it feels like you're falling in love, right? Like, it just, you feel
Mm,
that kind of like thing right in the pit of your stomach. You're like, oh, that feels nice. That feels right. And so it's a full body reaction. Your body is telling you that these words that have come out mean something. And even
yeah.
if you don't understand what they mean something. And so I just write in this way. And I think, very often I have no idea what my songs are really about until, years later, and you look back and you go, oh, yeah, yeah, that makes sense. But I think these days, I I don't even think about whether or not I like anything that I'm writing. I just know if it feels kind of like I'm doing something going in the right direction. Because, you know, um, I used to think that I was writing to suit my own taste. Like, I'm trying to write, a lot of people say, I want to write the music that I want to hear. Well, think about the first time you ever heard, I don't know, the album that blew my mind was Broken by Nine Inch Nails. So I'm like a 12-year-old kid. My mom's coworker suggests that I listen to Nine Inch Nails. All I knew at the time was Green Day and Offspring and stuff. And so imagine what happened to this, 11, 12-year-old kid's brain when he heard Wish for the first time. Like, I I didn't know that was the music I needed until I heard it. And I think that when artists try to write what they think they want, they are uh, basically putting themselves in a box and not allowing them to maybe write the music that their subconscious brain wants them to hear or wants to make. And so, you know, you should allow yourself not to even like the music that you're making, because I think about some of my favorite songs or songs that I hated the first time I heard them. It took a while for my taste to catch up to the sort of forward thinking nature of the art. So I just these days I just try to create and just kind of follow that like love feeling. Like, is that right? Is that feels right? Okay, whatever. Is it good? I don't know. Is it the best thing I've ever made? Probably not. But am I enjoying making it? Am I doing my best? Yes. Okay, it's enough.
Find that sometimes words on a page feel so different than when you actually sing it. You were talking about the body feeling. Like, I do think that the body does really inform when something just hits, you know?
Yeah. I've written so many lyrics, and like just sat there pen and paper, for hours, grinded through it and been like, "Oh my God, this is perfect." And then I'd go to sing it, I'm like, "This doesn't work."
Yeah.
And you're like, "Ugh, I got to rewrite the whole thing." And then I do this exercise where I just loop the part and I sing nonsense, and I've written the lyrics in 10 minutes. So I think you got to kind of get out of your conscious mind, get out of your cerebral mind, your mind that has expectations and tastes and ego and all that kind of stuff. You just sort of respond to your body and your subconsciousness, and just let whatever happens happen.
Do you have ways of being able to easily slip into that, or is that something that just comes naturally to you?
Um, well, you see, I used to write trying to, yeah, meet some expectations. Um, and it was really just through the process of, doing this for years and years and years and years, that I kind of came to this place where, um, really, I I can I can turn on inspiration like a faucet.
Yeah.
That doesn't mean that I don't sometimes hit roadblocks. That happens. But then whenever I hit a roadblock, I step away, and sometimes I'll come back weeks or months later, and then the answer is clear, because my conscious mind is not hearing the song anymore. It's just my subconscious, and my subconscious is reacting to what it's hearing. It's like, oh yeah, okay, that's wrong, that's wrong. You can easily just pull these things apart. And I think I think that the most difficult thing, probably the most advanced artistic skill that a person needs to develop, is to just get their conscious mind as much out of the process as possible. And once you can do that, you find that creativity really is a muscle. The more you're creative, the more you can do it. Like, I've had people hit me up for songwriting. Basically, it's like, hey, write songs for this other artist. We need 3 songs, and you're like, okay, and they're like, you can have a couple of weeks, and then the next day, I'm like, here's 3 songs. I wrote them for you, and they're like, what? And it's
Hmm.
like, yeah, of course.
Yeah.
It's easy. It's 3 songs. It's easy. 3 hours. I can do that.
Yeah, it's interesting when you are given a construct, and it's very specific.
Mm,
I feel like the mind is so incredibly adaptable and adept at being able to like navigate that. So, yeah.
yeah. I mean, I love it. It's like some people have asked me, oh, how do you stay creative after all these years? It's like, I'm more creative than I was 20 years ago. Like I love music more now and on a deeper level than I ever did as a teenager. And like I loved music as a teenager, but like it is it is just my everything. It is just all I think about. Like I'll be sitting there, I'll be staring off into to space, like writing music in my head, and then my wife will be like, "Hello, we were talking, we're having dinner. Are you writing music in your head again?" And I'm like, "Yeah." So it's just um I can't even turn it off. I and I love it. I wouldn't want it any other way.
Do ideas come out as well while you're on the road? Or are you in a different space?
The ideas never stop.
Yeah.
So the way that I've sort of described it is that if you've seen like the lottery ball machines, right, where it's just like it's a big glass ball, and then there's a bunch of other balls with numbers written on it, and it's all bouncing around like crazy. And then, if you focus really hard, like every now and then you'll see like, oh, there's an 11, oh, there's a 2, there's a this, whatever. But usually it just looks like chaos. That's the
Yeah.
inside of my brain. So the inside of my
Yes.
brain is this lottery ball machine, and all of these blurry balls bouncing around in there. Those are ideas, and if I look hard enough, I see an 11, and I grab the 11, and then I put it out. Like that's how it works for me. So when I'm on the road, I'm constantly bombarded with ideas. I do my best to record them with voice notes or little memos on my phone. I now have can show you here. Uh, I have like a lyric book which I used for writing ideas. And then I started what I do now is it's almost like a collage, right? So I'll photocopy pages from my favorite book, and then I'll do blackout poetry. So I'll find the lines that resonate with me, and then I write them down, and then I add them to things, and so I just have this whole book just of like art and lyrics and everything, and it's just I don't know, like it's just this piece of artistic chaos that feels like the inside of my brain, and like I cherish it so much. And uh, so I try to, do things like this. And if I can't do anything, then I just, I'll collage into it.
That's really beautiful. Thank you. Thank you for sharing that, Daniel. It's really
Yeah,
beautiful.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Like I think that's the thing. Like it's so important to me to try to like share these things with people because I know how much it helped me. And the other day, like a colleague of mine, he texted me and he was like, hey, I'm just kind of feeling down and I'm feeling uninspired and this and that. And, do you have any suggestions for me? And I was like, go buy a scrapbook and just do this. And I sent him a picture of that. And he was like, that's a great idea. And, it's not my idea. I,
Hmm.
I don't remember who came up with this, but it wasn't me. Like none of these ideas are mine. And so I think it would be stupid and egotistical and I don't know, unfair to try and gatekeep these things. Like I want to share this stuff as far and wide as I can because it helped me so much. And if I can help other people, and if in 20 years some kid comes up to me and says, "Dude, I saw you on Unwritten Rules of the Road, and you talked about your little scrapbook collage book, and holy shit, it changed my life." Like that'll make me feel great. that'll make me feel like I'm doing my job and, you know, paying as much for it as I possibly can. Because I'm blessed. I'm very, very blessed.
I think that's amazing. I mean, I personally believe that the world is a better place when people get to learn how to express, and sometimes it can be hard to for at first know like how do I even start? Like,
Yeah.
how do I put this down? How do I put down what's in my head,
Yeah. You just do it. Just
Yes.
just grab a microphone. Here's the thing, just grab a microphone, hit record, and start singing whatever comes to mind. You'll be surprised. You'll be surprised by the truth and the honesty that comes out of your lips when you're not thinking about it.
Mm, yeah. I I love the getting outside of your head philosophy. Absolutely. I think it's something where, like, at least the artists that I connect with, it feels like it comes from very, very deep within, but maybe less heady,
Yeah,
if that makes sense. Yes.
I think
Yeah.
it's I mean, it's different for everybody, but
Mm,
I do see like threads of similarity like woven throughout creatives. And whenever I find myself conversing with another creative mind, it's like, even though we could be miles apart, like there's still this thing that connects us, and we still sort of speak this same language. And I think that there are insights that we can share between one another that will make our artistic lives easier or more fulfilling.
yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and it's always incredible. Like I call them kindred spirits, but when you meet your other kindreds and you feel like the more you bubble the cauldron, it's like the more beauty, I guess, that you can create in the world that people can connect with.
Absolutely.
Yeah. We're getting some more questions in the chat. Thank y'all again so much for this. Um, Razviana Spear 8506 is saying, Daniel, what's your favorite Alice song? And Tosh, what's your favorite Aesthetic Perfection song? I don't know if you've heard Alice, but I will say that I think Never Enough is actually my favorite Aesthetic Perfection song. Yes, you've written so many great ones. For some reason, that's the one that's like gets looped for me. Yeah, yeah, that one
Well,
really
thank
hits
you.
me. Yes.
Well, I know Roz. She's one of my uh, awesome Patreon supporters and Perfect Society representing here. She means Alice Cooper for sure. and
Yes,
uh,
she does.
and so it's definitely gonna be Poison.
Nice. Yeah, Roz, I think we connected through the XRL7 universe.
Oh, okay.
So,
Oh,
yeah,
awesome.
yeah. I got to also be a voice there. So,
Oh yeah, very cool.
yeah, yeah. So, yeah, really love the universe. So, um, and we're actually getting a question as well from Cheshire Cat. Hi, Daniel. Hi, Tosh. Thanks for your time here. I like what you said about bands having their place, especially as a support act. That's really humble advice. Big respect for that. Have you had any difference of opinions on that or anything like joshing for position with those closing egos?
Um, well, I mean, it depends on what you mean. Like, have I encountered this like on with other bands, or if I like have encountered this in my own sort of crew, like my own space? Like, so obviously, no one has a perfect hiring record, and I've definitely made some mistakes in my hiring decisions in the past. But I do my best to surround myself with uh, not only people who are high integrity people, but also people who share a similar philosophy, right? Like, um, I try not to be around, or try not to bring people into my inner orbit, like careerists, people who are really only like trying to climb the ladder of the business. I mean, look, we're all trying to succeed, but I'm sure anybody here who's worked in the industry knows like what a careerist is like and how kind of insufferable they can be. Um, and you know, people who are also like me in that they are driven by a desire to produce the best work possible and not only to serve their egos, right? Like, um, you know, our sound engineer, Jared, we try to take him on every possible tour that we can. He is one of the most insane, unfiltered people I have ever met in my entire life, but he is the most earnest, uh, loyal, and dedicated people I have ever met. Like I've never seen a sound engineer behind the desk jumping and throwing fists in the air, like just as enthused about the show as, you know, the audience. And, you know, that's because he cares so deeply about the music and doing a great job. And, you know, sometimes you'll come off stage, you know, like, I had a great show. How about you? No, you know, I was having these technical problems with this, with that. And, you know, it like really ruins his day when he didn't have a good sound day. It's like, I know that his sound, like on his worst day, is better than, you know, some other sound engineer who's, you know, working in the upper echelons of the music industry who makes 10 times his fee and just couldn't care less about anything other than their paycheck, right? So these are the people that I try to surround myself with. And you know, that philosophy also extends to, you know, knowing your place, being respectful, being humble, all of that kind of stuff. And you know, obviously sometimes you don't get to choose the bands that you're on tour with, or you don't get to choose the you know, the people that you're surrounded by at festivals. And I've absolutely seen, you know, egos uh, get wildly out of order, and you know, you just kind of have to shrug and say, well, not my circus, not my monkeys, not my problem.
Yeah. Yeah, I imagine there's a certain level of almost like letting go that you have to be able to navigate, I think.
Yeah, I mean, it's like, look, control what you can control, and then the
Yeah.
things that you can't control, just let go of. And you know, that's the thing, is why it's so important to me to have a very um connected inner circle, where it's like, you know, these people are your ride or dies, and and they are always going to show up for you, and you're always going to show up for them, right? So um whenever whenever people are being stupid or obnoxious outside of that, I don't care, right? This is just
Yeah.
kind of, it's just totally outside of my sphere of influence, and happy to keep it that way. And like I said, made my hiring record is not 100%. Nobody's is, but I feel very, very blessed to have the band and crew that I do now.
I imagine it's like now that you've, found your way to being in that place that it must be such a joy, to get to travel together and work together. Like that makes a huge difference for sure.
Absolutely. I mean,
Yeah.
um, the why am I losing the word for this? Morale. The
Yeah.
morale on the ship is just like the most important thing, right? Like if morale is low, like it's just devastating at every level. Like the shows get bad, the you know, just anytime there's a problem, it just becomes more difficult to fix. When morale is high and everybody's happy and everybody feels like they're working towards the same goal, it's like it doesn't matter what goes wrong, what gets broken, everybody's there trying to fix it. And it doesn't matter what their job description is, right? It's like, you know, if I'm the singer and the tour manager, and you know, I have to get on my hands and knees and crawl around some like grimy club floor to try to get the power plugged in, like I'm gonna do that, you know. No, there's no job that's too good for me, right? Um, and I think that when you adopt that mentality, then, you know, sort of everybody takes notice and everybody follows suit, and you just have a super positive experience with the people that you're on the road with, and everybody's got everybody's backs.
Yeah. I actually we're getting a question from Music Advocate 3. I know you picked up Jada for drumming on the last tour. Was it because of the first drummer scheduling issues? Then second, how was she? And lastly, who is lined up for this tour?
Wait, which name was that?
J
Jada?
J Jada, I think.
No, we had
Yeah,
Brooke.
Jada. Brooke.
No, no, we had
Yeah,
Brooke
it's
on so on the 2023 tour um, that we did in the US. We had Brooke and Noiseth because my European band couldn't get visas. So just to roll the clock back a little bit, my live band in 2023 was Jolette's and Constance Day. And just before we were going to go on that European tour, it was like, well, not only had Till tapped Joey to be his drummer, Till was also like, hey, that girl Constance who's playing guitar for you, she's great. I want her too. So then I just lost my whole band before I went on that tour. So I had to put together a whole new uh, band, and I found that in Mike Schopf, a drummer from Vienna, and then Lord Jarachinski, a French guitarist. And so then they came on that 2023 European tour with Till Lindemann with me. Absolutely fantastic. Decided to do the US tour with Till and looked into visas. It was absolutely impossible to bring them out because they weren't members of the band for more than a year. Like that's the kind of USCIS rules. Uh, so I basically had to find a whole new band for the US tour. And so then we found Brooke C, absolutely fantastic drummer from New York. And then we actually had an audition video from Noiseth from the previous tour, but because she was based in Los Angeles, we didn't think that it would make sense to fly her out for Europe when we had a good candidate in Lore. So then, yeah, then I had a new band in the US, and I decided for the last tour to make it the best of both worlds. Brooke is now playing with Sully, the singer of Godsmack's band. So it was Noiseth, Mike, and Lore. So now we have a mixture of Americans and Europeans. And of course, for the US tour, can't bring Mike. Mike still needs a visa, and Joey's free. So Joey's joining us again. Glad to have him back. It's first time, I think, in 2.5 years. And then we're gonna have Noiseth. So I know it's like musical chairs in this band, but I think all these people are fantastic musicians, and I'm just super humbled and grateful that like so many cool and talented people like want to work with me. Like, there's so many bands that can't like find like one or two cool musicians, and I have like this motley crew of people to choose from all the time. Like how did my band get this?
No, it's amazing. It's like when you have like a supercharged group and you're like everybody brings something really great. It's really inspiring to get to play in that.
Absolutely.
Yeah, for sure. Mr. Gelatalo, again, I'm so sorry if I'm mispronouncing these, is asking if you plan on releasing a best of double album. It's about time.
Oh, I see. Uh, I don't know. I never thought about that. Interesting. Okay, this is actually the first time I thought about it, so I'm like processing it. Uh, I will definitely keep that in mind. I will process this idea. I'm not really somebody who likes to live in the past all that much. And I know that sounds funny coming from somebody who's like, re-recorded and re-released like two albums from his discography. But that was more of uh, a logistical necessity, as some of these at least for my debut album Close to Human, like I lost all the files in a hard drive crash, so if I wanted to release it for the 20-year anniversary I needed to like literally re-record it. So that's what I did. But I'm just so I'm not a nostalgic guy. Like I find nostalgia to be counterproductive in the world of arts because we're always trying to like discover new new sonic horizons, right? And so spending too much time thinking about the past. It's not something I really enjoy doing, but you know, a best of could be interesting for all the fans out there. I'll think about it.
Awesome. Phoenix Jade 44 is asking, what is decompression like for you after a long tour?
Um, it's weird because, I think that for the majority of the time that you're on tour, it's really like fight or flight. Like you're
Yeah.
just in this kind of like survival mode. And I always get the feeling that I don't sleep that well. So sometimes I'll sleep 11 hours when I'm on tour, but I don't feel well rested because it's like the quality of the sleep is so bad. Um, but I'm just constantly forcing myself to sleep as much as I can because I want to make sure that like my voice is fit. Um, but when I get home, then I'm finally able to relax, right? And I think the first couple of nights, I always wake up in my own bed at home, totally disoriented because I think I've finally allowed myself to relax enough to go into a super deep sleep, and then that's when I wake up and I'm like, oh my God, where the hell am I? Right? And then it's just like this. I don't recognize this isn't my bunk. This isn't a hotel room. What the hell's going on? And then, then usually like I'll feel that like my cat is next to me or my wife is there, and then you're like, oh, oh, I'm home.
Yeah.
Ah, okay, that's all right. And then you can go back to sleep. So it's very disorienting. It's super duper disorienting. But you know, uh I like it because it's it's essentially feels like coming out of warp speed or like hyperspace in Star Wars or whatever. It's like when you finally it's like everything just going super super duper fast and then you slow down, it goes boom, and you're like, "Oh, now I go to the grocery store. I make food. I
Yep.
scoop cat litter box. Yes, take out trash." It's just it's like you're now a normal person again. And for me, like I like that. Like I like doing the dishes. I don't know why. Doing the dishes is a very zen uh activity for me. So I like coming out of the hyperspace. I like being back to normal. I'm not really I don't know, like when you're on tour and you're getting treated like you're someone special, and you know you walk around, sometimes when you're playing in these big productions, right? Like you just try to go to a restaurant in town and people recognize you, right? Or there's people staying at your same hotel, and they want pictures of what it just it's such a thing that like warps your reality. Um, and I think that that's probably why so many people get these, really weird ego issues, right? It's like we, as I said at the top of this, like we don't get into music because we have a healthy relationship with our egos. But then like now, if you have any measure of success, people are constantly treating you like you're someone special and important, and they need to, be nervous to talk to you or something like that. That's disorienting and like warps the gravity beneath you, right? Like I don't like that. Like that makes me feel
Yeah.
very, very uncomfortable. Uh, so I love being home and doing the dishes and going shopping and not having people talk to me. And it's like obviously like I like that people like my music and want to take a picture, right? It's nice. Um, but if too much of that just distorts your whole universe. And I think that's not healthy for anyone, really.
Yeah. Yeah. I think it's so important to refill the well and to come back to your ground and, do all the things that make you who you are.
Yeah, I mean, what do they say is like if you uh if you get successful and you spend your whole life on tour, you're just gonna start writing songs about being on tour, and nobody can relate to that.
Yeah.
You need to, like you said, refill the well. You need to be a normal person and live your life and live at a speed that allows you to think and feel and reflect and all that kind of stuff. Because when you're again, when you're on the road, it's fight or flight, and
Yeah.
th- there's just not enough time to be like a well-rounded individual.
Yeah. It's a completely different zone of being for sure. Absolutely. Yeah. And especially I think when you're on longer tours, which I know you do have coming up, like and not only that, you're flying across the pond, so that's also like a double,
Yeah.
a double whammy there for sure.
Yeah, and it makes it take longer too because you know, I am trying to use that time like I'm flying out 2 weeks before the tour just so I can, spend time with friends and family, visiting family in Oregon and then gonna visit with friends in LA and do pre-production and all that kind of stuff, which also costs time. So,
Hmm.
you know, I'm gonna be gone for almost 2 months again. So it's
Yeah.
just it's a lot.
Yeah.
I think people really underestimate how much happens in the span of 2 months and how much you miss and in your life and the lives of your loved ones and all that kind of stuff. It's just like I said, it totally like warps and distorts your world and you know, you don't even know what day it is, what time it is, all that kind of stuff. It's just yeah. It's not a place you want to live permanently, for sure.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. And I mean, and I think it's one of those things as you've shared that playing live is very difficult for you, but it is something that you do, and it is, I think, again, like it is a way that you connect to your fans. It's a way that your fans are able to experience you in a live format. And that's amazing, and I'm sure that your fans who support you also very much respect and support your time that you need to be at home and to, reground yourself.
Yeah, I mean, I've already said that I'm in a very blessed position. Like I'm super grateful for not just, the kind of success that I've had, but also, the people who have made it possible because my sort of like diehard fans, on Patreon and all that kind of stuff, like they're so understanding and so totally cool to give me space, to just kind of be a human being and find whatever inspiration I need to come back and keep being creative and making stuff for them. It's like I've I know that there are a lot of other artists with fans who are less, maybe a little bit more intrusive. Let's just say that. So
Hmm.
I'm very grateful for the space that like even my most diehard of fans like allow me.
Yeah, yeah. I think it's like gosh, it's like it's something that all artists dream of is to have fans that can really understand not just your work, but your need to be a human,
Yeah,
because we all are, right?
yeah, absolutely.
Yes, yes. We're getting a fan from Cheshire Cat. When did you have that moment of I'm going independent? Were there any challenges moving away from other labels and the positives that came from that?
Well, um, yes. The thing is that as I said earlier, I've always sort of had a weird kind of North Star in that I just kind of knew generally where I was going and what I wanted, and there was really no saying otherwise, right? And you know, uh, I spent probably the first few years of my career kind of buying into the artistic fantasy of just getting to be an artist and not worrying about the business side of things. Um, I I was very, very, very entitled. And so on top of that, I was also very stubborn and thought knew everything. And so that created a lot of tension between me and my labels, and I had management at the time, and it just we never saw eye to eye on anything. And I think everything sort of came to a head um, as streaming was emerging as the dominant force in the industry, and the whole music economy was shifting from being um, focused on albums to focused on singles. And kind of in the interim, I in those intervening years, like I started learning that it is just a fantasy to believe that you are going to get to be an artist only and not focus on the business aspects. Because not only was I not making wise business decisions, or not really making business decisions at all, I was just basically being taken advantage left and right, because I was just signing any contract that was put under my nose. And after a while, you realize it's like nobody's on my side. Everybody's on their own side. And so if I'm not going to advocate for myself, no one's going to. And so that's when I started, really paying attention to the industry, how things were developing, started developing my own very um, rigid ideas about how I wanted to run my business. And so, like I said, that led to a lot of tension between my management and my labels and everything. And then I think it came to a head when I said, I want to start doing singles. I don't even want to think about albums. They were like, this doesn't make any sense. And I was like, you know what? I'm out. And
Mm.
so I walked away from both of my labels. I walked away from my management, and I thought it was going to be easy. It was not easy. I really took all of their work for granted. Like I really did believe that, like, I don't need a label, I don't need management, blah 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 blah. I absolutely didn't need them. How do I say this? Is like, when you're first starting out, you don't need them. And I think that maybe I wasn't in a place where I should have been represented by a manager, or didn't really need a label. I guess in 2005 you needed a label because we were still driven by print ads and all that kind of stuff. But I think at that time I really just needed to break away and figure out how to run a business myself alone, figure out what royalties are and how they're calculated, and the costs of printing and distributing CDs, and running your own merch store, and all of this kind of insane amount of work that I thought was easy, discovered it was not easy. Um, I actually even wrote my manager a couple of years afterwards, and I was like, "Hey, I just wanted to apologize for taking you for granted." And he was like,
Mm.
"Wow,
Yeah.
thank you for that," because I totally did. I did totally take
Yeah.
advantage of him, or take him for granted. And so, I did that for 11 or 12 years, and I grew the band um, as much as I possibly could, and I actually just in the last, I would say, like 12 months, feel like I hit a ceiling. Like I just can't, the workload is too much. Like I could only take myself so far. So, I mean, I don't know if you're aware, or if your viewers are aware, but I 3 months ago resigned to Out of Line. And so now I'm still like run my business like an independent artist, but I feel like now I understand enough about where I want to go uh, in terms of my business, but also I feel like they have adjusted their perspective to be a bit more malleable to my ideas. So I feel like actually we have a very wonderful working relationship now, like really just kind of better than I could have ever hoped for. And I feel like we're all sort of on the same team, headed towards the same goal. And so I'm very, very grateful for that. But I think it took, these this 10-year long basically being the prodigal son, right? Like having to go out into the world and then, come back. But I think you know, still like a label is something that you only need to um partner with once you've reached a certain level, because so much of this work can and should be done by the artist. Like, it's until you reach a point where you simply cannot handle the workload anymore. Now it's time to kind of graduate to something like that. And I think that what artists really need to do is understand every facet of the business. Like, do everything yourself, understand how everything works, all the royalties, all the, you know, all of the super unsexy, boring business stuff. Figure that out. And once you've reached a certain level, you can go into a record contract negotiation with the leverage and the knowledge to advocate for yourself in a really powerful way.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I really love that. Like you've been on the journey on both sides of the coin. So, and I think probably because you have such a deep awareness of what's going on, that you were able to probably have a very clear idea of saying like, this is what I need. You know, I think that's a
Yeah,
big part of it is knowing that.
I had a bullet point list that was like this long. So
Yeah,
it was extensive. It was very
yeah,
extensive.
yeah. But I imagine that from having done all of this yourself, like you probably have a very clear idea of like, okay, these are actually the things I need, and these are all the things that I already have going for me.
Yeah.
So, like how can we grow that from there?
But and that's what I mean, like with the leverage, where it's like, when the relationship is entirely one-sided, you know, what you also have to think about it from their perspective is like, what do you have to offer them? Because at the beginning of your career, um, you know, you're you're basically only interested in what they can offer you. But if you view these types of relationships, and I try to view every business relationship this way now, is that it is a symbiotic relationship where you are both um, optimized and working towards benefiting each other. Then I think that you find that it's I'm trying to think of the best way to explain it. Like, because I'm trying not to use like too many like business lingo-y terms or whatever. Like, you, you say something stupid like synergy, right? But uh, it's just when when each side is not indebted to each other, when each side is working for each other towards a shared goal, it's works so much better. And as you said, like, I needed all of those years to fully understand what it is I even needed. Because if you had asked me 15 years ago, what do you want out of a record contract? I couldn't have told you. But
Mm,
when it came down to when I started negotiating with labels like 6 months ago, um, you know, I just already had the bullet point list off the top of my head because I knew every single thing that I wanted and why, and I could defend it. I could say why I wanted these things, and I can also explain like, hey, this is what I bring to the table. This is what you bring to the table. This is what I need from you. And I think a lot of people also treat record labels as a bank. And they just try to take money, borrow money, borrow money, borrow money, and then by the end, they're in just a massive like debt hole that they need to pay themselves out of, and then you don't have any leverage anymore. So you want to make sure that you are as balanced as possible with everyone that you're working with on every level. Like, try not to be indebted to anyone for anything, and if you have to be, then make sure you get out of that debt as quickly as you can.
yeah, absolutely. And I do love that you're talking about coming to the conversation in a really honest way, and a really self-aware way where you're like, okay, if an artist is talking to a label, to actually go like, okay, these are the things that I can bring, but to be honest about that, right?
Yeah.
Because it's like sometimes it's like when you're asked, for instance, like how many people can you pull at a particular show? Like that's a very honest question, and I feel like I think it serves everyone much better when you're able to give an honest answer in that regard.
Yeah, absolutely. And um, I've never been like a bullshitter. Like I've never been somebody who tries to enter a negotiation and asks for the world and then tries to negotiate down to, what I find acceptable. Like that's just never been my tactic. Um, so I'm always funny in negotiations where I'm just like, hey, this is what I want. And they're like, no, I'll give you blah 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 blah. And I'm like, no, 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 but this is what I want. This isn't like I'm not starting asking for more. I'm just saying exactly what I want, and that's really all it's going to be. Or you reach out to somebody and you say, hey, I want you to feature, or I want a remix or whatever, and I'll pay you this amount of money. And they're like, yeah, but maybe you can pay a little blah blah blah. No, no, this is what I'm offering. That's it. This is the final offer. I always come out of the gate with my final offer. So probably not the best business tactic, but it's the only way I know how to be.
Yeah. Yeah. I think it kind of goes back to something you said earlier in the conversation when you were like, this is just how I am. This is my wiring. Um, you know,
It just wouldn't even occur to me to do anything else. It
yeah.
just it just it doesn't dawn on me. So and then I hear about how other people approach these things. I'm like, huh, interesting. Can't do it. This is
Yeah.
my brain won't let me do it.
Well, I appreciate that you're willing to share the insides of your brain because I think sometimes it's like, you might be a certain way and not think about it, but for some other people, it's like a practice. It's like a practice skill to be able to communicate in that way and to navigate in that way. And it helps when you're like, oh, okay,
Yeah.
that's something to think about, right?
Yeah. I mean, I wasn't always this self-aware. Like, I was very, very volatile when I was young. And I think it just, was a side effect of uh my upbringing and also the fact that, as I mentioned earlier, I've pretty severe ADHD. Um, so like half the time I didn't understand why I felt the way I felt, why I did the things I did and said the things I said. And it was just I I was quite honestly like a very impossible person to be around. Um, and it just through trying and failing constantly for so many years, I just I had to figure out some way to live with myself in order to survive. Um, which has not been an easy process and is certainly far from over, right? Like the growing never stops. Like we're never a fully actualized person, but you know, if you can at least if you can look back at yourself and see progress, then that's something. Um, so, I've just out of a pure need to survive and maintain the relationships that matter to me, right? I needed to figure out how to understand my brain well enough to not flush everything down the toilet, right? So,
Yeah.
um, it's it's a skill, and I'm glad I learned it. And I find that it has helped me in more ways than I could have ever sort of imagined when I first like embarked on that journey. So it's it's a journey for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, gosh, and I think it's awesome that you have the humility to go like, hey, that was a mistake. That's something I'm learning from. And, I mean, you said that several times throughout the conversation where you're like, oh, I learned this thing. And I love that approach and that mindset where you're like, oh, this is something I learned, and here I
Yeah.
am. So, yeah,
I think everything is a skill. I think being creative is a skill. I think being mindful is a skill. I think being self-aware is a skill. These. I don't know many people who are just coming out of the womb fully formed and being able to do all these things. Like you don't come out of the womb and you're Mozart. You don't come out of the womb and you're Gandhi or anything like that, right? Like we're all just kind of figuring it out as we go, and that's okay. You have to like give yourself enough grace to say like I'm imperfect, I make mistakes, but you have to at least be working to correct those mistakes or those shitty behaviors, whatever it takes, whatever you need to survive your journey or to make your journey less painful for yourself and everybody around you.
Yeah.
But it's all skill. It's all learned. You just gotta be humble enough to say, I need to learn that skill.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, like, it's something where I feel like I think if you have the openness, to be able to say like, oh, that's actually something I really want to work on. I find that when you ask other people for help with certain things too, people are more than willing to just be like, oh, this thing works for me.
Yeah,
So yeah, and it's so awesome, like that you've been so generous with like the things that you're willing to share with other people.
I think that's sort of our job uh, here on planet Earth, right? Is to try to do the best with the time that we have for not just ourselves and not just those closest to us, but for anybody. Because if you can make a positive difference, why not do it? It doesn't cost anything. And even if you want to look at this through the shittiest, most um, selfish lens, you get more out of life by being good to yourself and other people than you will be if you are an asshole, right? Like you can be self-absorbed, you can be egotistical, you can be rude and mean and all that kind of stuff, but it's just gonna make your life more difficult. It's gonna ruin your relationships. It's gonna ruin your opportunity to succeed. And that doesn't mean you need to be a doormat. That doesn't mean you don't need to um, advocate for yourself. Like, of course, you need to advocate for yourself and assert yourself. But um, you know, being kind in every opportunity that you have to be kind costs you nothing, and
Yeah.
it it pays off.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Wanted to take a moment, by the way, and give a shout out to XRL7 who is in the chat. Awesome to see you.
What up?
Yay. That's awesome. We were just talking about you and how much we love being in the universe.
Bring Debbie back. Bring Debbie back.
Yes, please. We have requests.
Cool.
Yeah. I'm so excited to get to experience your live show. I'm so excited for your upcoming tour that you have ahead. Loving the new remix that just got put out. It's
Well, thank you.
awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Well, that's all Sebastian. Sebastian's a mastermind. I love him.
yeah. It's awesome. For those of you that are new to Daniel Graves and to Aesthetic Perfection, Daniel has a Patreon. That is a way to support him and his work. Is that your favorite way to connect with people is through that platform, or are there other ways that you like?
Well, I mean, what I always say is that I'm grateful for any support that anyone can offer me, right? So if you connect with my music and the only way that you can or wish to support me is by streaming the music, that's great. Like i I'm a big fan of streaming. If you want to delve deeper and support me on a more you know direct level, then Patreon is the best way to do it. We have an amazing community there. I'm just, as I've said many times in this conversation, I'm just so blessed and so grateful to have such amazing supporters. Like, what I do would not be possible without them. Like, that's the thing, like signed or unsigned, like this whole endeavor costs money, right? And I wouldn't be able to do it without their generous support. So if you want to get really, really involved, Patreon's the way to do it. We do like live streams like this a couple of times a month. You can hear demos. You can see the inside of my book, all that, whatever. I'm an open book, as you can tell. So yeah, come join our community if you fancy some good times.
Yes, yes. I love it. I think that it's one of those things where you definitely have a gift for being able to share what is on the inside of your brain, not just through your art and your creativity, but also just being well spoken and being able to put into words, I think sometimes things that can be hard to voice.
Yeah, um, it's a skill. I think
Yeah.
anybody can do it. I sometimes I'll be arguing with somebody, and they're like, "Why are you mad right now?" And if you can stop and go, "Wait a minute, why am I mad?" And you take like 30 to 60 seconds to sit there and analyze why you're mad, you can usually deconstruct it and go, "Oh, I'm mad because of that thing you said to me yesterday. Actually, I'm not even mad about this thing that we're arguing about right now." And like this for me has just been like the ultimate life hack, right? Which is just understanding that so many of our impulses and thoughts and beliefs, they're just so um uh automatic that we're not even aware of why we feel the way that we feel, and don't know why we think what we think and believe what we believe. And it's just, I don't know, once I learned to take that 30 seconds or 60 seconds for whatever, my life changed. It like for the better, infinitely. So that's the life hack. If want anybody to take away anything from this conversation, it's like if you're ever feeling something, or you're frustrated, or just thinking something you don't understand why, take a minute, sit down, ask yourself why it is you feel that way, and you're almost always going to find an answer, and it's going to surprise the hell out of you.
That is some solid wisdom, Daniel. Well, I just want to say thank you so much to everyone for hanging out with us and for your kind questions. I always appreciate the thoughtfulness. Daniel, thank you so much for taking the time. I know you have so much coming up, and just really, again, appreciate your generosity and your kindness. Thank you so much for everything that you create and who you are in our community. Really
Well,
appreciate
thank you
you.
so much for taking the time to talk to me. Always happy to ramble on about my philosophies. I do enjoy it. So, yeah, thanks to everybody for listening to my music. Thank you for listening to me ramble, and hope to do this again sometime.
Yes, please. Yes, absolutely. Awesome. Well, everyone, have a wonderful rest of your day, rest of your week, and we will see you next time.